Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a pretty fascinating journey, really going from the microscope out to the telescope. We're going to start by laying down the theoretical foundations of AI agents, then we'll take a really deep, highly technical dive into the incredibly complex architecture of Claude Code. And finally, we'll zoom back out for a highly practical head-to-head comparison against a totally different system, Hermes Agent. It's going to be a fun one.
So here's our roadmap for today. First up, the agent harness revolution. Second, decoding Claude Code's architecture. Third, meeting the Hermes agent. And finally, that Claude Code versus Hermes agent showdown so you can find exactly the right tool for your workflow.
All right, part one, the agent harness revolution, the building blocks of reliable AI.
Okay, let's dive into this. If you look back at the, slightly chaotic early days of AI, agents were undeniably smart, but they seriously lacked foundational scaffolding. I mean, imagine trying to build a massive towering skyscraper, but you don't use any steel girders. It just collapses under its own weight, right? Well, that steel scaffolding, that is the agent harness. It's literally the glue holding the entire agent system together. It's the framework that enables reliable, safe, and actually effective execution out in the real world. Without a harness, an AI is really just a brain floating in a jar. But with it, it becomes an actual, capable worker on a job site.
Now, the explicit term agent harness is relatively new to the scene, but the foundations? They've been building for a while. If we rewind to 2025, we had some brilliant but kind of isolated precursor research going on. We're talking papers like Aflow, automating workflow generation, Paladin, tackling failure recovery, and optimizing long-horizon reasoning. Incredible stuff, but scattered. Then, look at the crazy rapid acceleration just a year later. You get the Natural Language Agent Harnesses paper in March 2026, and then a massive survey in April that explicitly unified all these concepts. By May 2026, with papers proposing Code as Agent Harness and the KX Agent, the paradigm was officially born. Boom. Those isolated tools had officially evolved into a unified structure.
Moving on to part 2, decoding Claude Code Architecture under the microscope.
All right, it's time to put on our lab coats and really inspect the inner workings of a state-of-the-art harness. And this brilliantly illustrates the whole system. Now I know, it looks incredibly dense. It literally looks like a wiring diagram for a space shuttle. But stick with me here. We're going to break down these interconnected layers step by step so it feels a lot less intimidating. Kind of like a guided tour straight through the mind of an AI.
So, the whole thing kicks off at the input layer. You can think of the permission gate as a super strict bouncer at an exclusive club. Your commands enter through the UI or your IDE, sure, but absolutely nothing gets past the session manager without a hard deny, allow, or approve, period. Once you're inside, the knowledge layer takes over. This is how the agent manages exactly what it knows, utilizing a skill registry and a task graph. But what's absolutely brilliant here is the 3-layer context compressor. It uses a 92% threshold to aggressively filter out noise, meaning the agent never gets bogged down or overwhelmed holding on to irrelevant data. It's incredibly smart memory management.
Next up, we hit the engine room. The integration layer acts like the hands of the system, reaching out and connecting to external servers to fetch whatever tools the agent needs via the MCP runtime. But the execution layer, that is the beating heart of this whole setup. It operates on a continuous master-agent loop, going from perception to action to observation, dynamically dispatching tools as it goes. And crucially, it uses a prompt cache with stable prefix reuse. That might sound like jargon, but it actually slashes computing costs by 10%, which, is a massive business efficiency gain when you're operating at an enterprise scale.
But hey, what happens when a task is just simply too heavy for one single AI? Well, the multi-agent layer steps in like a highly efficient corporate manager. It spins up a sub-agent spawner, delegating tasks super cleanly through instant delivery Redis teammate mailboxes. It even uses an atomic board with atomic locks to prevent any wires from getting crossed. Finally, the output layer kicks in to deliver the verified task result and update the collective memory. And that completes our microscopic tour of Claude Code's rigorous, highly structured architecture.
Which brings us to part 3, meet the Hermes agent, the autonomous worker.
Okay, let's take a collective breath and zoom back out to that telescope view. Take a look at the aesthetic and the core architecture of the Hermes agent system. This was developed by Nos Research down in Austin, Texas. And you can notice right away just how totally different their approach is. Where Claude Code felt like this massive, heavy-duty industrial engine, Hermes Agent is positioned as this highly centralized, completely autonomous brain. It's just a fantastic counterweight to the rigid, highly gated structure we were just looking at.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the specific personality and functionality they built into Hermes Agent. It doesn't just sit there waiting for your commands. It is a true 24/7 operator. Through deep session persistence, it actually learns everything about you over time. It's accessible from anywhere, and it uses scheduled automation like native cron scheduling for unattended, recurring operations. It essentially acts as a relentless self-improving orchestrator. Plus, you can plug it seamlessly into any leading model you want, whether that's ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, and it'll just track your goals across days and across tasks.
Part 4. Claude Code versus Hermes Agent. Choosing the right tool.
All right, so we've seen both of these systems in isolation. Now it's time for these two heavyweights to go head-to-head. And honestly, the visual contrast alone kind of tells the whole story here. You've got the heavy, industrial-grade, multi-layered infrastructure of Claude Code directly contrasting with the streamlined, almost intimate interface of Hermes Agent. These are two completely distinct philosophies designed for two very, very different jobs.
The absolutely crucial takeaway here is knowing how to apply them correctly. Think of Claude Code as your heavy machinery. It is built strictly for building massive, complex applications. It's for highly focused, locked-in work and rigorous end-to-end testing. Hermes Agent, on the other hand, is your lightweight daily driver. It excels at day-to-day tasks, spinning up rapid prototypes, making quick autonomous changes, and leveraging continuous self-improvement. It's basically like having your very own tireless digital employee running in the background.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. We journeyed from those conceptual precursors back in 2025. We took a deep microscope to the enterprise-grade complexity of Claude Code, and we contrasted all of that with the highly personalized autonomy of Hermes Agent. Both are undeniably powerful, yet philosophically, they're worlds apart. So, I'll leave you with this. Knowing exactly what you know now, which AI agent paradigm are you going to harness to build your future workflows?